Okay. And we will go ahead and begin. Just a couple of housekeeping things as we get started. You'll notice that on the screen, there is a link to the session sign-in. So if you will let us know that you're here, that you're joining us by clicking on either the link that's in the chat or by typing that link into a web browser. Again, to get to that chat, if you are just joining us, on the meeting control button at the bottom of your screen where you can hang up from a call or mute yourself or turn off your video, there is an icon that's a chat box and it says show conversation. And if you click on that show conversation box and scroll up just a little bit, you'll be able to see that the link has been posted. All you have to do is click on that link and you will be taken to just a super brief sign-in sheet that asks you for your name and whether you're attending the morning session or the afternoon session. Obviously, we're in the afternoon. Also would like to remind you that if you would like to earn CEUs for this session and for your attendance and participation, make sure that you sign up for this session through My Learning Plan. That's really important, and so you can do it there, and then that'll get approved so that you can earn the credit for this session. Also, just on a housekeeping note, I have muted you all if you came into the conversation with audio. During the webinar, we'll keep you muted, but at the end, I do want to open it up for questions and discussion. So feel free when we get to that part of the presentation to unmute yourself, have engaging conversation, because I do want this to be meaningful for you. I want you to be able to ask questions that are relevant to you and the work that you're doing. So just know that that option will be coming towards the end. And for now, we'll keep ourselves muted so that we can kind of proceed and not have too many distractions along the way. All right. If at any point you do have a question that pops into your head, if you do want to drop it in that chat space, I'll be monitoring it periodically, but at the end, I'll definitely revisit that and we'll follow up with those questions as we go. So super excited that you guys are joining us today for an introduction to Microsoft Teams. We're going to kind of start from the beginning today, and the sessions that we have later this week are going to kind of grow that knowledge, and we'll explore further details of Teams, but today hopefully you'll get an understanding of the basics. Just to introduce myself and to introduce the person behind the presentation, because sometimes it's odd when we're not face-to-face. My name is Maggie Phillips. I do lead the work of the professional development team at PowerUp EDU. We're a Microsoft training partner. We do lots and lots of Microsoft training, but we're also an educational technology integration company. We're headquartered in Kennesaw, Georgia, so not terribly far from you guys, but we also do have offices in North Carolina and South Carolina, Alabama, and Florida. I joined PowerUp about a year ago, and prior to joining PowerUp, I worked for a school district that was right outside of Atlanta. Started as a classroom teacher, did some work as an academic coach, and then worked at the district level in my last 4 years at the district as a technology integration specialist. So helping prepare teachers to meaningfully integrate technology and to leverage it for learning. It's pretty fair to say I'm a teaching geek that is really passionate about the meaningful integration of technology. Super excited to be with you guys today. Also, I am on Twitter. Would love to connect with you guys, to share knowledge, to get connected, see what's going on. On Twitter, I am at Maggie L. Phillips. So again, would love to connect with you, continue the conversation, and kind of grow the professional development network that is Twitter. So would welcome that opportunity. I can also be reached via email, and it's simply maggie@powerupedu.com, and I can provide you that contact information as we wrap up as well. So that's enough about me. I would love to get to know you guys a little bit better virtually, of course. So let's do some introductions. If you'll click on the chat icon, I've mentioned it a couple of times, that is in the call controls bar, you'll see a chat box that opens on the right side of your screen. In that box, go ahead and type in your name, what you teach, and one thing that has surprised you about virtual learning that you've been kind of thrust into. So if you were not seeing that call control bar or not quite sure where that chat icon is, if you just move your mouse around in the Teams window, it should pop up. And in the bottom middle area of the call, you'll see like the camera button, the microphone button, the hang up button, and one of those again is the chat icon on my screen. You'll see it in the top right. So would love to get to know you. I'm going to give you just a minute or so to type in your name, what you teach, and then again, one thing that has surprised you about virtual learning. Again, it kind of all came as a surprise to everyone, but would love to know your takeaways from it. It's awesome to see a lot of trends kind of emerging as we go. A lot of people mentioning that online and distance learning is exhausting. It takes a lot of time, but I love to see the comments about you're continuing to learn. Students are engaged. That's really powerful things to mention. Agreed. It is a tremendous amount of work, and as you're learning and doing it simultaneously, it's kind of overwhelming, I'm sure. And definitely, I'm seeing another trend of a lot of resources available. Absolutely. It's been amazing to see how many things are out there to support teachers and students as they continue the learning process at home in lieu of the traditional classroom experience. So we'll keep it moving, but if you haven't had an opportunity to introduce yourself, please feel free to continue adding it to that chat. Would love to get to know you and learn more about the work that you're doing. Again, this session, I'm going to give you multiple opportunities to engage in that chat. So if you do want to leave that side open, you can do that. You can also like the comments of others or provide an emoji. So feel free to engage with the content that's posted, and that will allow you to continue the conversation in a little bit of a different way. So again, so nice to meet you guys virtually. Today, we are going to spend about an hour together learning about teams. Just to kind of give you a rundown of what we're going to cover, we started with a welcome and some introductions. Super nice to meet you guys all, by the way. We're going to start by running through the ways to access Teams. So Teams can be accessed through the web, through an application, and a mobile device. We're going to spend the majority of the time today, though, focused on the structure, the organization, and the navigation of Teams. So this is really an introduction to give you an idea of how it all works, how the pieces come together, so that as we progress through the webinars later this week, we'll build upon that and go deeper with each concept. We'll wrap up by looking at the types of teams that are available, how to get those set up, and then engaging in a team, the basics of whole group communication in a team with announcements, posts, and replies. So this virtual session, it should take about an hour. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up to questions that you all might have. Again, you'll notice that there's the box to the right. And if you have a question that you want me to follow up on at the end of the session, feel free to jot it in there. But know that at the end, I will give you the opportunity to unmute your mic and to ask those questions. Maybe seek some clarity in how this fits into the work you're doing, or maybe you have a technical question. Happy to answer that as well. So you'll notice on the screen to the right, there's a box that says, what do you hope to get from this session? So I would love to hear what your desired outcomes are from this session we're together. So I'll check out what you're posting, but go ahead and in that chat box, if you will just provide me an idea of one thing that you hope to get out of this session. I'll give you just a minute to do that. It's awesome to hear that for some of you, this may be the first time that you are even learning about Teams. So this is the perfect session to start because it's going to be the basics for sure. We'll definitely highlight those navigation and operational pieces. Oh, I'm super excited for those of you that haven't really heard much about Teams, because I think it could be a game-changing platform for you. So awesome. I think we've got a lot of good stuff, and I hope that you will join us for webinars as the week progresses to dive in a little more deeply. Awesome. See how it kind of compares with Google. We'll definitely be highlighting that as we progress through the series of webinars for sure. So again, feel free, if you haven't gotten some jotted down, to put something in that box as we go. We'll kind of keep it moving. But again, just to kind of reinforce what I said, is this is the beginning and the introduction to Teams. So if you're new, you have literally no idea what's going on, or maybe you have a small idea of what Teams is or where it fits, this is the session for you, because today is all about the basics and getting started, navigating and organizing. We won't dive into anything that's super complicated today. And as the week progresses, like I said, the content will build. So I will be reviewing your desired takeaways after this goes on as well, so that I can tailor the future webinars this week to meet the needs that you're presenting. So if I don't cover it today, happy to answer it in the question and answer session, but would also be confident in building it into upcoming sessions. So welcome that opportunity. And thank you all for sharing some things that you hope to get out of this. So as we get started, like some of you mentioned, completely new to Teams, the idea of Teams, maybe you've heard about it, maybe you haven't, maybe you just wanted to take advantage of a learning opportunity. Chances are you're probably wondering what all the buzz about Teams is about, because over the last month or so, as we have been forced into virtual and distance learning, Teams has continually emerged as a platform that is streamlining work for teachers and enhancing that virtual learning experience for students in amazing ways. So we're going to start by identifying Teams and then uncovering why it is a good fit for classrooms traditionally and in situations of remote and virtual learning. We're also going to speak to how it can be used as a place for you and your colleagues to connect, to continue that learning process, maybe build in some professional learning communities and networks. So just kind of keep in mind, Teams is not just for students for remote learning or just for teachers to use. It's a platform that can be used in so many different ways. So we will kind of start there with things as we go. Let's keep it moving. All right, so like I mentioned, super excited to share Teams with you all today. If you are new to Teams, or maybe you've heard a little bit about it, the key idea behind Teams is that it is a hub, and that hub organizes, streamlines, and enhances the work that you're already doing. Teams is not just a one tool program or platform. Teams is one platform that pulls all things together that you might do in a classroom, whether it's a traditional classroom or a virtual classroom. It pulls together things you might do as a school staff or a professional learning community. There's so many things you can do within Teams that just pulls all of those pieces together. So again, the big idea is Teams is a hub that pulls things together that you're already likely using. It becomes a place that you can communicate with your colleagues and students through post and chatting. You can share files and assignments with your students. You can host virtual meetings where you come actually face-to-face with your students or maybe your staff or your PLC. It has apps built in and accessibility features as well that make the content more engaging, while also making it accessible to all students, which we know is so important in times like these. So all of this is done within the context of one platform, which is Teams. So it's super nice to be able to go to one place and have everything you need instead of going to 50 places and trying to piece everything together. As teachers, we know that maximizing instructional time is so important. And when we have many transitions and we're working between multiple platforms, we often lose time. So Teams is a way to pull all of those things that we're doing together in one spot so we can make the most of the time that we have with our students or with our team members, and that we can work in a cohesive and collaborative way. So Microsoft Teams kind of delivers on 4 core promises or ideas to create a really powerful workspace for a high-performing team. Again, whether it's a team of students, a PLC, a staff team, or another team that's designed to support some of the work you do within education. So first, Microsoft Teams solves for communication needs of different environments. So with the chat section for private communication, a posting section for discussions and announcements, and an incredibly robust video meeting platform, which is what we're in now. Teams is that one-stop shop for communication within and far beyond the walls of a school. So if you are looking for ways to connect with your students and your teammates in new and powerful ways, Teams is a powerful hub for that. Also, when it comes to collaboration, the Office integration with Teams is a great way to have everything in one spot. So whether you're collaborating on a Word document, an Excel file, whether your students are collaboratively creating a PowerPoint or working in OneNote, all of those can be accessed within the context of Teams. Because you are working within the Teams platform, you can avoid having to send emails and attachments and searching for the latest versions of documents or trying to get a pulse on documents that are shared. Everything in Teams is kept together. It's curated, it's organized. You can work together on documents, you can share things. It's a really fluid way to collaborate. In addition, many of you probably use other applications that go far beyond Office 365, which may result in you having to jump between different websites or different apps. At the end of the day, as many of you posted, there's a ton of digital resources out there. So having this hub where we can pull those pieces in and customize your experience with Teams is such a great way. For example, you can integrate apps and services that you may already use, like Flipgrid or ThingLink, or even Kahoot. They can all be brought into the context of Teams, so you have it all there. And last but not least is the accessibility features within Teams. In Teams, you're going to find something called an immersive reader that allows students to access content and have it read to them. So this speaks a lot to our students that may struggle with reading and absorbing the content that they read. It could speak to our earliest learners that may not be able to read the content that you'd like to share with them. But the immersive reader allows the content on your screen within Teams to be read to students. There's also a built-in translator right there that allows students or teachers to access the content in the language that they desire. So speaking to the power of that, Teams really brings the content into an accessible format for students. And you know, there's no other platform that offers quite as many accessibility features for all students. Another benefit of Microsoft Teams, and specifically speaking to students accessing it on multiple devices, is that Teams is accessible to students and teachers on all kinds of devices, like Windows devices, Macs, iPhones, Androids, web browsers, those random tablets that sometimes we find that students have. It's even supported on different browsers like Edge, Microsoft Edge, Chrome, Safari, any of those. Teams is truly what we call device agnostic, meaning it's a platform that works on a device regardless of the operating system. So as long as you've got access to the web, you can leverage Teams. So in these times when our students may not have access to the same device or a school-owned device, the ability to access Teams is so powerful. In addition to you as the teacher, whether you're driving in the car and have you know, your cell phone, or whether you're sitting at your desk and you have a laptop, you have full access to Teams and the content and the ability to engage with your students. As I mentioned, accessing Teams can be done in several different ways and on any kind of device. So I want to take a look at the 3 ways that you can access a team. There are essentially 3 key ways you can do that. One is from the web, and one is from an app, which is on your computer. And then the third way is from a mobile device. So you have that option as well as you go. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of speak to how you get into Teams on each one of those devices. So the first and quickest way to access Teams is just simply from a web browser. When you enter into the Office 365 login screen, whether you go through your district site, whether you go through office.com or portal.office.com, you will see the Office 365 tools and apps listed on your screen. what you're going to be looking for is the Teams tile, which is a purple icon with a T on it. And when you or your students click on the tile, the Teams application is going to open within that internet browser. Do want to point out just a side note that to get the best Microsoft Teams experience, you will want to use what's considered a compatible browser. So that's Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge, Silk if you're on an Amazon device. Those browsers all work. The only one that we've seen some inconsistencies with is the oldest versions of Internet Explorer. So would definitely encourage you to use the internet browser of your choice, but proceed with caution when using a version of Internet Explorer that hasn't received any updates. So in addition to the web app, there is a Teams app that you can download or that may already be on your Windows device. And once that Teams app is installed on your computer, again, whether it's already there or whether you download it from the App Store on your device, this app will give you the full experience with the minimum setup time. So I would encourage you to use that Teams app that's on your computer, whether you have to download it again or whether it's already there. Downloading this Teams app is totally going to maximize the experience and streamline the sign-in process each time. So when you launch the app, again, whether you download it from your computer or whether you already have it, you will see a sign-in screen, and you will begin by clicking the continue button. And then next, you're going to be asked to enter your credentials. So enter your Buncombe County Schools credentials here, and then click on next, and you'll be asked to enter your password. And once you do that, just click sign in. One quick note is that if you have a personal Office 365 account, would not encourage you to access that as you're logging into the app. You'll want to start with your Buncombe County Schools credentials so that you are connected with those Teams accounts. Okay. You can also access Teams from a mobile device. This is super handy on the go, and you will probably find that this is a great way to keep a pulse on what's happening within your team, even when you're not sitting at a computer. So the first step is to download the Teams application, which is free, from the application store that's native to your mobile device. So whether it's the App Store on an iPhone, the Google Play Store, the Android Store, you'll notice that the Teams icon is within Teams, again, free download. Once you download it, it'll be displayed on your screen. If you click on that icon the very first time, it is going to prompt you to enter your Buncombe County Schools credentials again. You'll enter your password and complete that sign-in process from your mobile device. Again, once you do that once, you won't have to sign in each time. It will remember your credentials. Here and there, it may ask you to sign in, but it won't be something that's a daily occurrence, which makes it a much more streamlined process. All right, so now that you know how to sign in, let's dive into the core of what Teams is and how it's organized, how it's structured, and how you might begin to navigate it. This knowledge is going to be helpful as we begin to navigate these Teams waters a bit and learn how it best fits into the work you do. So for those of you that said, hey, I don't know much about Teams, I'm getting started, I just heard about it last week, this is the part that I hope is the most meaningful to you as you kind of get a big picture view of what Teams is capable of doing and how you navigate it. Again, the sessions that we have later this week are going to progress and provide more detail on a lot of what I'm going to share in this overview. So let's start with what a teacher or student will see when you log in to Teams. So whether you're accessing Teams from Office 365 or whether you, the online version, or whether you are pulling up the Teams app, this is what we refer to as the Microsoft Teams landing page. It's the first page you'll see when you get signed in. This view is going to show you the teams that you have either created or have been created for you, or for teams that you're a part of. For students, it's going to show the class teams that they've been added to, either by you or by your district. So here you will likely see different teams along the way. Right now, you may see nothing, and that's totally fine when you go into Teams, because maybe you're not in any of the classes yet or teams. But just know that once you are in some teams, this is where you'll see it. To enter into an individual class or a PLC team or any of the icons you see or thumbnails you see on the screen, all you have to do is click on the icon or the thumbnail and it will take you into that team. Don't worry, once you get into that team, it's really easy to navigate into another team. But again, this just allows you to pick your starting point. So once you click on that thumbnail and leave the team's landing page to access a specific team, it opens into a view of a team that looks like this. So this is just a demo team, but to give you an idea, there's 3 main spaces that we will look at today within Teams. And it's going to be this left sidebar menu bar. It's going to be this left rail, and it's going to be this main space. So as you're looking up here on the screen, just to give you a general idea, at the top here, we see Language Arts 101. This is the name of the team that we're in. So this is likely a class of students. And within this class of students, there's different channels or small groups or subgroups. So there's a general channel where communication about general happenings in this team occur. And then there's other groups, an elements of fiction group, a power persuasion group, a reading unit group, or channel, which allows you to get it more specific in each of those areas. So this is what that team is, and you'll see posts from different people here, kind of a discussion wall. And again, we'll dive into that more, but just so you kind of see the name of the team at the top, as well as here on the left, a list of all of the teams in which this account is showing. So let's talk about the first part of the Teams menu. This is what we call the Me space. This is the place that we always want to start because this is where it's all about you. This is the frame on the left side of the screen. And the Me space is where you as the teacher or you as the staff member or you as the professional learning committee member keep track of your apps, your files, your teams, and your interactions. This is your space. Within this space, there are 2 key areas. One is this app bar, which is the dark colored menu on the left with icons. And then there is what we call the left rail right here. And what's displayed here in this left rail is based on what icon we click on in this left menu. For example, in this screenshot, I've clicked on the Teams icon, which means that in this left rail, I'm seeing a list of the teams that I'm a part of. If I was to click on the activity icon, this rail on the left side would show me activity that pertains to me. So this is the Me space. Your Me space will look different than your colleague's Me space and your student's Me space. This is all about you. And so kind of keep that in mind. If you ever look over someone's shoulder and their section looks different than yours, that's okay, because this is your Me space. So let's take a look at what you and your students would see on this app bar. You'll notice that when an app is selected, it changes what's seen in that left rail, like I mentioned. For instance, clicking on that activity bell here at the top is going to show me my notifications in that left rail. So let's kind of dive in here. First is the activity icon, which shows you notifications and lets you know when someone has communicated with you specifically, whether they've tagged you in a conversation or comment, or whether they are looking to connect with you in Teams. You'll see a notification on that activity icon. I like to compare that to social media. If you get a notification in social media, you often get a red dot over some kind of notification icon, and that's exactly what it is in Teams, except it's under the activity icon. So anytime you see a red dot with a number on that activity icon, it means, hey, somebody's trying to get in touch with you or content has been posted that relates directly to you. The next step up is the chat icon. And this is where you can communicate privately with other teachers or administrators within Teams. So what's said in this chat section is only seen by those people within the conversation. So I do want to give a kind of caveat there and say that keep in mind that while this is private and it's seen by the people that are involved in the chat, this is still within your school Microsoft account. So all communication here should definitely still be school appropriate. Also pointing out that in Buncombe County, students do not have access to engage in the chat component of Teams. So you as the teacher can communicate with your coworkers, you can communicate with your administrators, you can communicate with people in other schools. However, your students cannot engage in the chat features for their safety. So you won't be able to send them chats and your students will not be able to have private conversations, which I'm sure makes some of you have a bit of a deep breath and relief there. It's definitely an important thing. As we move on down, selecting the Teams icon will let you and your students navigate between the different teams that you're in. So you may see 1 or 2 teams listed that you're part of, or when you dive really deeply into Teams and start loving it, you might see 10 or 15 teams that you're a part of. So it's going to be a different view for everyone, but essentially, if you want to find the teams you're in and access the content for a team, you just click on that Teams icon and it will pull up your teams in this left rail. Clicking on the Meetings app is going to allow you and your students to view the calendar. From here, this is where you schedule meetings within Teams, whether you're meeting with a colleague to discuss an upcoming plan or you're scheduling a meeting with your students. This is your go-to place for setting up those virtual meetings. Do want to note really quickly that right now your district is working really closely with Microsoft to get the Google Calendar sync active. So don't panic if you log into Teams right now and you don't see that meeting or calendar button there, or if you do see it and it just isn't working correctly at this time, just know that that's being resolved, it's being addressed, and I promise you that integration is going to be worth the wait. So to be able to have your Google Calendar fully integrated into Teams is going to make a huge difference. Last here on the list are the files and the assignments. With files, this is where you can see all of the files that you have access to across all of the teams you're in, along with your District OneDrive account. So if you are somebody that saves files there, you'll be able to access those from files without having to go to a different website, a different storage place. You can have everything you need within the context of Teams from that files section. And assignments is where the assignments live. That's obviously for use with students. With the assignments feature, you can distribute assignments, you can review work that students have completed and submitted, you can grade and provide feedback, and with you all having the PowerSchool sync, it allows you to have that seamless connection with PowerSchool when you're assessing students within Teams. You'll also see an ellipses or the 3 little dots listed below or at someplace on your screen. That's going to allow you to access more options or icons. So just know that with that more option, you can add resources to your Teams account. You also may see the App Store listed below along with help and feedback. That App Store will let you access additional apps that can be integrated into Teams seamlessly. Again, going to one place instead of like 5, having that all in one. And then you'll also see the help or feedback button at the bottom. This is a hidden gem. If I could tell you one thing to take away that a lot of people kind of skip over, it's this help and feedback section. From there, you can get access to really meaningful resources to support you with the use of Teams, but it also gives you a place to provide feedback. Microsoft is passionate about using user voice to make the platform better. So a lot of the changes that Teams has seen over the last year or so have been largely directed based on people saying, hey, I'm using this and it could be better if we did that. So you can provide that feedback as well. They've got a powerful database of suggestions that you can like and interact with and see kind of what Teams is progressing into based on what is being suggested in that feedback section. Okay. So after you go through those menu options, you'll see that left rail. And again, this reflects what is selected on that app bar. As I mentioned earlier, when you're within the Teams app, teachers and students will see the channels associated with a particular team. So right now, I've clicked on the Teams icon. I'm looking at my list of teams. Specifically, I'm in that Language Arts 101 team within that general channel or subgroup of the team. And anything I click on here on that left bar is going to be reflected in this white space of my left rail. So if I click on the activity icon, then this box is going to display the activity that relates to me. And so again, this space will look different depending on which icon you select. This space, or the main space in Teams, is what we call the canvas. And this is where the content and information for a team is found. This is going to be the bulk of the content. So the majority of your time in Teams is going to be spent viewing and interacting in this main space on your screen. Now that we've kind of covered the me spaces, that left side, which relates to you, let's take a closer look at what we call the we space. And the we space has two areas, the class or team navigation area, which starts with the team name here at the top. And it also has channels below that, or tabs across the top, that allow you to access more content and navigate within that team. So at the top, you'll notice the name of your team. In this case, it's Language Arts 101, followed by the name of the channel that we're in, which is the general channel. And that's where we are in this situation. And you'll also see three little dots, or the ellipses, by the name of the team. Clicking on those three little dots is going to give you access to some management features from your team. So if it's a team you created, maybe for your grade level team as a PLC, or a data team, or a school committee, and you want to make changes to that team, from those three little dots, you can add a channel, you can add a student, you can add a teacher to the team, you can edit the settings, or make any other changes to a team that improves the relevance. So just know that those three little dots are going to be kind of your go-to spot for adjusting and modifying your team. Underneath that class navigation area is the tabs for the team. And this is where you and your students are going to find the things that are related to your class or your professional learning community or your staff team. So this includes posts for groups, just like discussion places, options to have files added, a class notebook, which is automatically added to a team, assignments and grades. When you set up a class team, these are already there. They're default tabs. So you will log in, you'll put in your information, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and it will already build out that conversation section, the files section. It'll already build out your class notebook, the assignments platform, and you can add additional things in that section as you'd like. So just keep in mind, you can also add and delete these tabs, add to them or delete them based on the unique needs of your digital classroom. Just click on the plus sign to add a new tab. You'll notice that there's a lot of things you can add once you do that. We'll be diving into that into one of our later webinars. So that's just kind of a quick run through of the basics. And hopefully as we get started, you'll better understand how that we space works versus the me space. But knowing that what relates to you individually is on that left side menu, while this center area or the canvas really relates to the work that you're doing with a group or a team, whether it's students or PLC, a staff, or other team that you have. So if you're new to Teams, that was probably a lot. So I want to give you just a minute to process, decompress, and reflect on maybe one key takeaway. So if you will revisit that chat section, now that we've done an overview of how to access Teams and how to navigate the basics, let's just take a second, and in that chat box, if you'll share with me, what is one takeaway that you have so far about Teams? Yes, Catherine, to agree with you, yes, the integration with PowerSchool and your Google Calendar is just an amazing thing. Oh, I love to see those tabs. Yes, yes, yes. The tabs keep everything in one spot and allow you to access that frequently used information quickly and easily. And yes, it is. It's a lot of the stuff you're already using in one spot. The integration possibilities are absolutely there and a huge benefit to Teams. Sarah, agreeing with you, the ability to have your Google Calendar there and have it all in one spot is awesome. And it is that hub. Absolutely. Yeah, you have some awesome district integration support there. And so I'm confident that as you go, you'll be able to lean into them and the support with that. Awesome. So feel free to continue adding those ideas as you go. We'll keep it moving for now, but just know that along the way, if you have an aha moment or a takeaway that you'd like to continue adding, feel free to do so. Welcome your learning, and it's often good to share that learning with people that are, within the same district, teaching the same thing that you are. The ability to say, oh yeah, I forgot about that when you read through that stream of suggestions is often a really meaningful reflective practice. So lots of great learning shared. I really appreciate that information. So now that we've talked about the access piece and then again, how to navigate a team, kind of the basics, let's talk about getting a team set up and selecting the type of team that fits your need best. Remember that sometimes you're going to be added to a team, meaning someone else creates the team and adds you to it. And there's going to be other times where you may want to create a team yourself. So in that case, you would be adding members that are working collaboratively on a shared project or a long-term task. The good news for you is that Microsoft makes it so easy to create a new team. Teams really guide you through that setup process. And just so you know, it takes like 3 to 5 minutes to get the basics of Teams set up, which is amazing when you think about the power of the platform and being so easy to get going. So let's talk a little bit about that. So depending on how your district sets up teams, all your students may be enrolled in a team. There may already be a team for each class you teach, or there may not. You may be enrolled in a PLC that someone put you in, and you may be in a staff team. And if you're not, that's absolutely okay. At this time, you may be in no teams, totally fine. You may be in 10 teams, that's also fine. But at the end of the day, you can create teams. You can create teams for your colleagues and your students, and you can invite others to join that team that you would like to connect with or further engage with. So to do that, from that main Teams launch screen where you access all of your teams and you see the thumbnails for all of the teams that you are associated with, you'll notice in the top right corner, there is a button that says join or create a team. It's as easy as that. You click on the join or create a team link, and it's going to open up a new window in which you can begin the setup process. So super easy to do. When you do that, once you select create or join a team, you're going to be asked to select from one of 4 different types of teams. Let me just preface it by saying the description that it gives you on the screen is completely accurate, and it pretty much eliminates any wonder about what type of team you need to make. But just to provide you a little bit more specific information as we're kind of given that baseline information, if it is a space that you're building for your students to engage in, you should definitely select the classes option to create a class team for your students. The class team is going to automatically come equipped with assignments, the ability to distribute assignments, collect assignments, grade work. It comes with a grade book, and it also comes with a class notebook that's already built in, so you don't have to set up something separately and attach it. It also has a setup with that class team that allows you to maintain a level of management that keeps things focused in your team space. So if you're going to be working with kids in any capacity, I would encourage you to use that teams, the classes team, because again, you want your students to have access to the content, but you want to maintain the management options of that team. If you're going to be working with a group of colleagues on a professional learning experience or engagement, maybe a data team, a grade level team, a content area team, a department within your school, the PLC team is the ideal space. That's going to set you up with a framework and structure for effective professional learning communities. So would definitely encourage you to do that. Your school can also set up teams. School and district leaders can set up what's called a staff team. And this would be if you wanted to invite a team or create a team for your entire school staff. It includes a staff notebook and some other management features that an administrator can use to kind of regulate things. That would be that staff team. And last but not least, there is an anyone team, which would allow students and you and any other employee that's added to that team to collaborate in maybe a special interest group. I will say, though, that this is one of the traditionally less used options. It fits at times, maybe for yearbook committees where you want students and teachers to have equitable access to the management features. But generally speaking, if students are involved, I would encourage you to use that classes team. So once you select the type of team that fits best for your need, Teams is going to walk you step by step through the process completely. The great part about Teams here is it's not going to let you make many of the common mistakes that could potentially happen. It literally takes you question by question, name by name to get things set up right, which from my perspective is so helpful because I find myself sometimes making careless mistakes in an attempt to do things quickly. So this really does eliminate that possibility. So once you select the type of team that best represents your group, you're going to be taken to that step-by-step guide that takes you through the process of building a team. You can take a really good deep breath right now and know that this is the process and it is so super sweet and simple. Microsoft has built it with a series of elements that are going to completely guide you to the correct setup. So first, you need to name your team. Remember to select the team name that represents the people that are involved or the task at hand. I wouldn't suggest naming it like the super cool team or, the rock star team. This is going to be more like the 6th grade American history, language arts 101. You want the name of your team to reflect the topics at hand and the group of people that are involved in the team. You can also have the option of entering a description about your team in the space below. So maybe you're creating a PLC for your data teams, and it might be 7th grade math data team is the name of your team. And in the description, you might say, this is a general meeting spot for the 7th grade data team at the name of your school. So you can provide that description, but again, it is optional. And then when you are finished with that, you click the next button. And you've given it a name and you've developed a description, and now it would be time to add members to your team. You can add people by typing in their names, which will sync up with their Office 365 credentials automatically. Or if you want, you could add their Office 365 addresses. That might take a little more time, so I would definitely encourage you to just type in their names for the people you'd like to join. Notice that if you are creating a class team, which is displayed here on the screen, which is student focused, your students will be added under the student section. Again, that ensures that they have limited rights to management features of the team. There's also another tab for teachers. And this would be where you could add a co-teacher or another school faculty member that you want to have management rights to your team. So you can add the participants here. If you're creating a staff team or you're creating a PLC, you can also add the people here. So again, really important though that you make sure that students are set as students, and if you have a teacher in the team, that they're set as teams, because again, students will have restricted access to some of the things that you post and won't have the option to edit the content that you as the teacher are sharing for the whole group. If you're setting up a PLC, again, you can add other teachers as a PLC member, but you can also add another teacher as a PLC leader, maybe your co-leaders, co-department chairs, or you want someone else to have those management features. But again, once this part is done, your team is essentially ready to go. And the rest of the setup process would depend on how you wanted to structure and organize your team. But again, really simple process. Just kind of a takeaway, if you have the opportunity to, when we wrap up this training today, I would encourage you to go into Teams and to create a fake demo team and just walk through the process of setup, see how easy it is to do, and feel free to create that team and just explore, click around, see how it works, get comfortable with it. We know that you learn technology best when you actually use it. And so I would definitely encourage you to get into Teams and see what you can do. You do have the option here of skipping the addition of people to your team. So if you do want to make a practice team or a demo team to further explore, once you get to this page where it asks you to add people, just click skip and it'll go ahead and create your team without having a lot of people there or an audience as you learn the process. So just kind of a takeaway opportunity if you'd like to continue that learning process. So we got the team set up, you've maybe built a new team. The next step is how to engage in your team. There's a ton of ways that you can engage. And as we progress through the webinar series this week, we're going to be exploring kind of this facet even more and going into more in-depth information about this. But to get started, I wanted to look at kind of two key ways that you can engage in a team. And one of those is posting, and the other is with an announcement. So each of these forms of engagement is going to allow you to provide information to your entire team really quickly and really easily. So first up, to make a post from within a conversations or post tab, notice we're here in a team. And in this case, it's a chemistry team. And I'm on the general channel. And within this Canvas space, the main space within a team, near the bottom of the team, you're going to notice a box that says start a new conversation. And here I have it with the highlighting beside to mention. This new conversation section is where you post content that can be seen by everyone in the team. So by default, when you click on that box, it starts a new conversation. Within the box, you can type in any text you want. You can add files. You'll notice there's a paperclip icon where you could attach files, maybe a rubric you want students to see or a presentation you'd like them to access. You can add those attachments. You can add emojis, which we know that students love. You can add animations, and you can even add badges, digital awards, and give praise to students, which we know can help bolster that community in a digital learning environment. If you do want to make a post that you want to ensure a specific person or a specific group sees, you can type in the @ sign and then add their name, or the @ sign and then the name of the team you're in. And when you do that, it's essentially tagging the post, and the person or the group that's tagged will receive a notification on that activity icon here in that top left menu. So that's a way to ensure that content that you want somebody to see is accessible by them, again, by displaying a notification on the activity icon. So once you make a post, your students can reply if you want them to. You can turn that off as well. And you can interact with a post by providing a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a series of emojis that are available for each one. So again, you have the new conversation section, the text box where you type. And then if you want to format the message that you're sharing, there is an A with a paintbrush, which is your text formatting options. I will say that is like the most missed feature of the team's discussion board. So if you're a note taker, you may want to jot down that A with a paintbrush allows you to format your message. It allows you to add bullet points and change the size and give bold or italics, or format your post in other ways. And I'll be showing you that a little more in depth in just a second. So you can also create announcements for your students or for your groups with personalized messages and colorful headings. We know that definitely captures students' attention. So this is set up just like a general post that we just looked at, except instead of selecting a new conversation, you would select announcement. And in these announcements, you can post text and media like hyperlinks, attachments, and so much more. And then students can reply to the announcements to get some discussion going. This is another way to advertise meetings you may be holding, to provide students information that's important that you want them to know. Don't forget, though, to use that @ sign in their name, which is the @ mention, to notify the group of announcements and post. And then again, if you do post something and need to make a change, take a deep breath. That's not permanent. I'm going to show you in just a minute how to adjust or make a change to something you posted. So again, keep in mind, you can make a post or a new conversation, or you can make an announcement in that whole group space. So I'm going to transition over and show you a live Teams screen and kind of walk you through that process. Again, when you land into your Teams account, you'll see the thumbnails of the teams you're enrolled in. In this case, in your tenant, I am going to go into my Language Arts Section 2 practice team. And when I do that, I see again the name of my team, which is Language Arts Section 2. I've got a general channel, a channel for authors, the author study project. So any discussion that relates to that author study project or resources would go here. Book study discussions would go here. And then fun stuff for my students to build the community and collaboration within that space is all here. So you'll notice in this canvas or this main space, I've got a couple of announcements that have already been made. You'll notice it's an announcement if it's got a colorful banner at the top And in the right corner, it's got a red megaphone, which allows you to know that that's a notification for an announcement. And then you've got something that's more like a standard post or discussion. So again, to engage here, you'll notice at the very bottom, it says start a new conversation, type @ to mention someone. So when I click on that box, it automatically opens to a very simple text box. So you can type in a message for anybody. If you do hit enter at this point, it goes ahead and posts your message. But chances are you might want to add more to your message or add multiple lines of text. And so you want enter to function in a way that it moves you down a line and doesn't post. So to change that, you click on, again, that A, which is the text formatting button. And that gives you some options to enhance the post and provide more information. First of all, you can click on that new conversation button, which will allow you, again, to change it to an announcement if you'd like to post an announcement. You can also change the ability for everyone to reply. You may post something and you don't want everyone to reply. You just want that information to be out there. So you can change that so that only you and a moderator or a co-teacher can reply to that post. And then if you're posting a message that you'd like to appear in multiple channels, you can also click the post in multiple channels and select the channels that you'd like to do that post in. So there's no reason to copy and paste a post and move to a different channel, copy and paste and post. You can just from one spot type in one message that can be shared in multiple channels. You'll notice some standard formatting options where you can use bold, italics, underline, strike through. There's a highlighting option. Here you can also indent, add bulleted list, numbered list. You can add a quote of some sort. You can add a link if you want your students to be accessing a web-based link. You can add it here. You can also drop in embed codes to bring more interactive elements into your team. You can insert lines to separate content here. You have a lot of flexibility. So you can type in your message, add a subject if you'd like. You'll also notice at the bottom, you can attach in a file, whether it's a PowerPoint or a Google presentation that you'd like to attach. You can add emojis, GIFs. You can add a sticker to promote students' work or to share information. You also have the option of praise, which is kind of some digital rewarding that you can do. And once you type in a message and you're ready to go, you'll notice there's a send button in the bottom right corner. Once you hit that, it's going to post it for your team. One thing I want to mention again is that if you use the @ sign and you type in the name of your team, it's going to make sure that everyone in your team is then tagged. And again, all you have to do is type in the @ sign and then the name of your team, or the @ sign and then the name of somebody that's enrolled in your team. And that will provide them the push notification that, hey, something's been posted that relates to you and it's important, so check it out. So that's important. And then again, you click that little send arrow that brings you right back to post your message. So in this case, I posted it, it's time stamped, and my students can then click the reply button, or my colleagues in a PLC or PLN can click on the reply button and further engage. So just to kind of give you that idea, those posting and announcements are for whole group communication, whereas you have that chat icon that's in the left corner that's more of that private communication. So, we have covered a lot of the foundational pieces of Teams. If you've never used it, which I know some of you haven't, I hope that this gave you some background knowledge and just kind of a general understanding of how this is a hub for communication and collaboration, and just some ideas of how it works. If you have been exploring Teams a little bit, I do hope that you were able to take away some new learning from it as well, maybe one or two things that you may be able to use in the future. Looking ahead at the webinar for tomorrow, we're going to really explore virtual meetings in Teams and how those work. We're also going to speak to the best practices for virtual meetings, because it's important to know how we set those meetings up from a technical perspective, but it's also important to think about how we might make the most of those hours that we have with students in virtual meetings or with our colleagues in virtual meetings. So I really hope that you'll consider joining us tomorrow for that piece. If you are unable to join, totally understand, don't worry. These are being recorded for access at a later time. So you'll have access to that content as well. As we do wrap up, and before we do dive into the question and answer section, I wanted to give you some final details here. First, if you'd like access to more resources to get started with Teams, so you maybe had a little taste of it today and want to know more, click on the link that I'll be posting in the chat shortly, which is a link to the Wakelet resources. This is where you can get further information about Teams and getting started with it. There's also a redeem code listed on the screen. So if you're a note taker, jot this one down. I can also post it in the chat when we wrap things up. But basically, Microsoft has a really powerful and robust community called the Microsoft Educator Community. And when you go to that community, you have access to on-demand resources to learn more about the Microsoft suite of tools, and also to get connected with people that are doing things that you're doing and using technology maybe in the ways you are, with student groups that are similar to yours. So within that Microsoft Educator Community, you can earn digital badges and certificates for courses. Because this is not one that's completed directly on their website, but because you participated in a live session, you have a redeem code here that if you enter into the Microsoft Educator Community, it will allow you to earn a digital badge as well as a certificate for your time here today. So if you're interested in tracking your learning and growth in that community and you want to get a certificate, maybe to keep for your documentation about professional learning or the investment that you're making on learning along the way, you can take that redeem code to the Microsoft Educator Community, enter it in, redeem it, and get the credentials and the badging that's associated with this course. Each time we meet this week, I'm going to give you a different course. So it's possible that by the end, you will have earned 4 badges along the way. So that's a great way to track your learning. We also have a survey, which again, I'll post in the chat. If you don't mind completing that survey, give me feedback on the session today. Would love to hear your thoughts, insight on that. And then last but not least, if you didn't join us at the very beginning or you haven't had that opportunity to sign in yet to Teams or to the Teams training form, go ahead and use the link that's on the screen to access the sign-in sheet. Again, all you have to do is enter your name and whether you're attending the morning or afternoon session, which again, you're in the afternoon section. And then again, if you do want to earn those CEUs, you need to log into My Learning Plan and actually sign up for the webinar so that that can be tracked and you can get that access. So a lot of information today. I really do hope that you're going to join us for future sessions along the way. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it up to the question section. I know that a lot of you have maybe posted questions along the way. I see there's been some communication with a lot of those questions being answered, which is awesome. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording because I want you to feel comfortable to pose those questions. If you want to type it in the chat box, you can do that. And if you want to unmute yourself and ask the question verbally, that's completely fine as well. But I do appreciate you joining us today. I hope that you will take the time to go test out Teams and maybe create a fake team that you can explore, click around with, and use. Hope again that you come back and join us tomorrow. If you are at your brain capacity, you're maxed out, feel free to hop on off the call. But if you do have remaining questions or you'd like to hear the continued discussion, please feel free to do so. Would welcome that opportunity. So I'm going to stop the recording, but we'll be staying on to answer any remaining questions.